So today our engine is going to get a new exhaust system. We're going to install our heat exchangers and muffler, and hopefully everything just lines right up and threads right in. So let's go ahead and roll this guy over and get started on our heat exchangers. So then getting started, really pretty simple here. We're just going to clean our gasket mating surface, and these are going to be the gaskets we're using. Get the focus here. These are by Victor Reitz. It's a stainless steel gasket, and it just sandwiches like a composite material in between, and this embossed area here is what's going to do the sealing. And then we're going to add some copper NEC's paste to the threads and set them into place. And if you look really close at the gasket, it has a lip right there. And I'm going to take the lip and face up. Okay, so one step forward, two steps back. So I had to pull this side to get to the fitting inside here for our oil line. So if we don't put this on before we put our heat exchanger in place, there will be no way to install that at a later date. Okay, there's our barrel nut and our copper nut. And the barrel nuts will go down these holes, and our copper nuts will go down in these tight spaces down here. And then I'm just using a magnet extension to get these guys down in there and get them started. Once you take up a couple threads, shouldn't be a problem for our 8mm. Alright, let's have a look at this guy once we're all settled into place here. So you can see there's no access whatsoever to get any kind of a wrench in there and tighten. You're just up against everything. So if this is leaking when you put your engine in, try to pull this heat exchanger and sort that out after the fact. Could be really challenging. Right now it's easy because we're upside down. We can set all our nuts into place, they settle in, and we can tighten them. But when this is upside down, you're trying to deal with those nuts, they're going to be dropping on your face. You're going to be working in tight spaces, so this is really something you want to pay attention to and make sure you're plenty tight. Okay, and then next, before we tighten everything down on our heat exchangers for the final go, I think it'd be a good idea to mock up our muffler upside down, and this way we can take the weight of the muffler Well, we're trying to align our exhaust flanges. So a lot of times when you are trying to line up exhaust flanges, they're really thick, they're not forgiving, and if you want to try and line everything up, everything to me just needs to settle in at the same time before you torque it all down. So this way we can take the weight, I can slide up to our exhaust flanges. Being one person, I can just work on one end. The sawhorses can take the other side while I'm working on the other. Once we have everything positioned, all our bolts and everything's going to line up, then we can go ahead and torque things down at that time. So I'm just working off a standard set of folding sawhorses. Got a piece of 3/4 inch plywood on there and some padding to bring up and line up our exhaust flanges. This is going to do all the work for me. It's really just going to take the weight for me and allow me to wiggle around with those bolts in there. And then also the center, this guy here, this right now is on the full down position. So once we're seated up here, once everything looks good up here, and we tighten everything down, then we can go ahead and adjust that guy right down and catch this lip. So everything lines up exactly how it should. So just some sawhorses. I've got a 2x4 under the engine just to take the weight because things are getting heavy now. I don't want to put too much stress on that. So that's basically it. Let's go ahead and put it together. So we're snug down, and you can see now carrier is resting right up against the lip, and we'll tighten that up when we roll the engine back over. So before we do a final torque on everything and snug it into place, let's go ahead and put our muffler straps into place. Okay, so it looks like we hit our first setback. So what's happening is I can't get our muffler strap drawn up with the screw that was spec'd out by Porsche. So this is the correct one, apparently by parts number for this strap to do this job. And you can see what's happening here. If I'm parallel to each other, I'm so far off here from catching it. Actually, I'm way back here. There's no way I'm ever going to get that. There's nothing I can do with clamps or pliers or anything to pull that in. So I need a longer screw, and that's not exactly an easy task for this kind of a thread on a Sunday. But we did find something, and this looks like this will work. So this is an M10 by 1.5 by 75. And so my thinking is if I can run this guy in there and draw it up and stretch it to conform, maybe then this screw will fit properly. So if we can draw it up and keep it tight, I can then wrap some tie wire around this little slotted area here, pull the screw out, hopefully it doesn't expand, run the new screw in, and we should be good. So if that works, we're in good shape. If it doesn't work, I'll have to get some longer screws. Right about there. Okay, well I pulled that pretty darn tight, and as you can see, even from here, this screw is just not ever going to make it. For now, I'm going to try our tie wire trick and see if we can at least get this to stay. Then I can put the other one on, and then we can roll it over and keep moving. Okay, so I think that's going to work for us to allow us to keep going. Just keep this tight for now. You can see the bottom of the head, which is going to sit down on this guy here. You know, even if we were to get it started on one or two threads, we would have to pull this thing so tight to draw up. We just risk damaging something here. So really, it's just best to take a break and get the right size bolts and keep going if we can. In this case, this will allow us to keep going. Okay, so we're just moving the camera in here so you can see a little bit better what's going on. So from this angle, being upside down and working from the top side here, it's really quite easy to get the clamp in here, strap everything down, and then run our hardware down into that if you have the right size hardware. We'll just leave the camera set up while I'm wrestling with that. You can see how easy it really does slide into place. Okay, now we're starting to look like something. So everything is really staged for us and really easy to just switch out the hardware once I get the proper size bolt in there. But that's pretty much what it's going to look like. Nice and snug in there. Now we can go ahead and tighten up the rest of the system and torque it down. Okay, so we're all torqued down and pretty much wrapped up here as far as we can take it for today. This guy here is 50 millimeters in thread length. As you can see, there's no way that's ever going to work. This one here is 75 millimeters in thread length and quite a bit overhanging, so we really don't need this long. Something in between. I'll have to poke around at my favorite hardware store and see what we can come up with. But basically a socket head somewhere in between there should serve you well if you get into this situation. So that's going to do it for our exhaust system. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.